Have you ever had a huge deadline looming, tons of time to get it done, only to find yourself in a frantic last-minute panic? Yeah, you are definitely not alone. So today, we're going to get into the science of why we do this to ourselves and, more importantly, how we can finally actually beat it.
Oh man, does this graph look a little too familiar? It's a pattern most of us know all too well. You start out in this wonderful, happy place called relaxing. You've got it all under control, right? But then, as that deadline creeps closer and closer, bam! You are shot directly into the panic zone.
You know, this isn't just a random series of bad decisions. It's actually a predictable and pretty painful pattern. Let's call it the procrastination cycle. It's this ride we keep taking, from feeling totally safe and secure, straight into a storm of last-minute chaos.
And right in the thick of that panic, this is the question, isn't it? It's that little voice inside your head, filled with regret, knowing you could have completely avoided all this stress if you just started sooner.
And here's the trap. This is the deal we make with ourselves. In the short term, putting off a task feels great. It's this little hit of relief. But the science on this is crystal clear. In the long term, you will suffer. Procrastination is basically a loan with an incredibly high interest rate. And that long-term suffering? It's not just about a stressful all-nighter or getting a bad grade. No, there are some serious hidden costs to chronic procrastination that go way deeper than just losing a few hours.
The research here is actually pretty sobering. It directly links procrastination to things like depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, and just chronic stress. So the big takeaway here is that this isn't some quirky, harmless habit. It's a behavior that can genuinely impact our mental health.
This simple diagram just perfectly shows what happens to our goals. We start with a clear idea, right? A nice simple circle. But as we delay and avoid, procrastination gets its hands on it and turns it into this tangled, chaotic mess of stress and confusion. And in the end, nothing really gets done.
So this is probably the most important shift in thinking we need to make. Procrastination isn't about being lazy. It's not a time management problem. The research actually defines it as an emotional regulation problem. We put things off to avoid the negative feelings we associate with the task, like boredom or anxiety or even self-doubt.
And this leads us to the next really big question. If we know it's bad for us, why can't we just stop? Why does telling ourselves to just do it almost never, ever work? Well, it's because we're relying on willpower. And the truth is, we are terrible at estimating our own self-control.
This graph shows exactly how it all goes down. You start a task, you're focused, your productivity is high, and then you hit the slope of procrastination. It's that tempting, slippery moment where you give in to just one tiny distraction and your productivity starts to slide right off a cliff.
And it's always something small, isn't it? I'll just read one article. I'll just watch one episode of Game of Thrones. I'll just take a quick peek at YouTube. And then another, and before you know it, your productivity has completely flatlined for the day.
And this is the mic drop moment of this whole explainer. Trying to fight that slope with pure willpower is a losing battle every single time. The solution isn't more discipline, it's a smarter strategy. Willpower doesn't work. Systems do.
Okay, so if willpower is the wrong tool for the job, what's the right one? Let's dive into the practical, science-backed systems that researchers have found to be truly effective.
So here's the toolkit. First, self-imposed deadlines to create a little urgency. Then accountability systems. Tell a friend, get a coach to create responsibility. Try working in focused intervals, like the Pomodoro technique. Make sure you're exercising and eating well to keep your energy up. And of course, be ruthless about eliminating distractions. These are the building blocks of a real productivity system.
But you can have the best system in the entire world, with perfect deadlines and the healthiest diet, and still fall flat on your face. Why? Because there's one more piece of the puzzle. It's the most critical piece of all. It's the engine that powers the entire thing.
I mean, think about it. You can set up all those rules and schedules, but what is the one ingredient that actually makes you follow through day in and day out, especially when you don't feel like it? It's your internal motivation. It's your why. If you don't have a clear, powerful inner reason for what you're doing, no system in the world is going to save you from temptation. Knowing why you're doing something, that's the fuel. It makes even the most boring tasks feel meaningful because they're part of something bigger. And that brings us to the final, most important thought. Before you build any system, before you set a single deadline, just ask yourself this one simple question. What is your why? Because finding that answer, that is the real first step to beating procrastination for good.